So this is the webinar offered by the UW Health and Wellness Management degree program to discuss health and well-being careers today and tomorrow. I'm Teresa Islow. I'm the academic program manager for these degrees and certificates at UW Extended Campus. And I'm so excited about the response to our program today. We're really thrilled to have so many people interested in this topic and joining us today. You know, we do a lot with our students and our graduates to try and help them connect with employment opportunities. We know that our students are coming to our program to maybe change careers, to advance in their career, to explore new opportunities. And this is just one opportunity that we wanted to offer to have some conversation around what the industry looks like right now. There's so much in flux in the world today, and has been in particular over the last couple of years, that we thought it would be a great opportunity to tap into some of the wonderful resources that we have through our faculty, our students and graduates, and our advisory board for the program to talk with anyone who's interested today about this topic. We are excited to have current students with us, some graduates, others who are just considering the program or maybe just interested in the topic. But I want to welcome all of you today and thank you for joining us. We are recording our session today, and so if you are joining us or if you registered, you'll be receiving a link to the recording that will be coming out afterward. And we look forward to engagement. Even if you think of questions after we're done today, we're still going to be available to talk with you. I'd be happy to set up time to talk with anyone who has questions around this topic. So I'm joined today by a panel of 3 experts who I'm really excited to have with me today. And I want to thank them for having the time and being able to share a little bit about their own story and their perspective on the industry. And I'm going to take us to our next slide too. So I'll have them introduce themselves in just a minute, but what we wanted to do is offer some perspective from both, you know, the faculty in our program, who many of whom are also employed in the industry, someone from our advisory board who serve as professionals in the industry and help keep our program aligned with what's happening out there in health and well-being. And then a graduate from our program who can also shed some light, having the perspective of actually having gone through our master's degree in this case. So we're going to take some time to just learn a little bit about each of them, and then we'll dive into some of their perspective on what the job market looks like today and where they think it's going in the future. Some of the, we'll talk about some of the impact of the growing awareness and interest in mental health in the workplace, and the, I think, growing understanding of the importance of well-being for people at the work site. And then a little bit about some of the emerging knowledge and skills that will be applicable for professionals in the field today and going forward. And of course, we'll have time for your questions, which we ask that you please put into the chat feature, and we'll be addressing questions at the end after we get through our presentation. So then to introduce speakers today, I'm really pleased to have these 3 professionals with us, Jason, Laura, and Eric. And I'm going to ask each of them to just do a brief intro here as we get started. Jason, could you get us started?
Sure. Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Hooray, and currently I am the Strategic Client Executive for LabCorp Employer Services. Many of you may know LabCorp as drug testing, but they have recently emerged and evolved into the wellness space. So that's a new venture for them. In the past, I've served in leadership roles at Curie, which is a medical malpractice company in North Carolina, at Duke University, IBM, and Cisco Systems. I have a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and my master's from Mississippi State in health behavior. I'm a certified member of the National Commission of Health Education, or CHES, and love to serve and promote and support Teresa and her program, and really excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jason. Eric, could you go next?
Absolutely. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Zark. I'm the Wellness Program Manager for Children's Wisconsin. At Children's, I inspire others to be at their best by empowering them to live healthful, active, and fulfilling lives. I have over 20 years of experience in health insurance, healthcare, and well-being initiatives, which I think positions me to be uniquely qualified to address the well-being challenges that healthcare professionals face. I have a degree, bachelor's degree in exercise science with an emphasis in worksite health promotion from Winona State University. I'm certified by WellCOA as a faculty member, and I serve on the University of Wisconsin Health and Wellness Management Advisory Board, as well as the Wellness Council of Wisconsin Board of Directors.
Great, thanks, Eric. And Laura, welcome.
Welcome. It's great to be here. Nice to be with you all today. So I am Laura Kuglich. I am the Trio Wellness coach. So a little bit about me. Prior to being a wellness coach here at Trio Wellness, I was a wellness coordinator at Milwaukee County. And then I was at Frater at the Medical College of Wisconsin as the senior health coach. So I do have a bachelor's in kinesiology with an emphasis in pre-physical therapy. And I have a master's degree from Health and Wellness Management from UW Parkside and in Health and Wellness Management. I have a certification in health coaching, certified health coach, certified personal trainer, certified in resiliency, compassion fatigue, so all great things. So here at Trio, I work with clients to inspire them to live their best and healthy life.
Thank you, Laura. Great. So I have a few questions that I've put together to talk through with our panel today. And we're going to just go through these questions and hear from each of them to get some of their perspective then. And let's start out by just thinking about where things kind of are today and how each of you got started. I think it's valuable to hear some of the individual stories of people who are in the field now. You know, as I've in this role have been out talking with people at different conferences, pre-COVID mostly. Very many people were surprised that there was a degree in health and wellness management because so many of us, myself included, kind of fell into this by accident just over the course of the way different opportunities came along throughout my career. But we are in a unique position to be able to specifically train professionals in this field. And I thought that would be helpful to hear from each of our panelists, kind of how they got into this. How did they learn when this really is an actual career option? I think we've found in our marketing research that there's kind of a lack of awareness of health and wellness management as a career option. And so I'd like to just hear a little bit from each of them about how they first learned about health and wellness management, why they chose it, and then who or what was most influential in your advancement in your career. So let's see, Jason, could you get us started?
Sure. And like Teresa mentioned, you know, when I first started out as a professional 25 years ago, it's hard to kind of say that number sometimes, but you know, I went to school for sports medicine. I thought I was going to be an athletic trainer and I was going to work at a high school, and really that was my career focus. But I quickly realized that that career was not for me. You know, that was, for me, it was low page, long hours, watching sports all day. And it's just, you know, really didn't interest me. And I knew that's not something that I could do for the rest of my life. So I went back to school. Got my master's degree in health promotion, health behavior. And I quickly realized that I had an interest and a curiosity for health behavior and why people did the things that they did and why they chose the behaviors that they did. So I started out in a fitness center, like a lot of people in this role, in this industry do. And then I said yes to opportunities. I said yes to opportunities along with connections with different people and leaders in the industry who gave me the opportunity, and I inherently took those opportunities and advanced in different ways. So went from a fitness center at a tech company to IBM, another tech company, but really started to dabble a little bit into health management and health coaching in different areas, where eventually I was the program manager at Live for Life, which is the employee health promotion program at Duke University, and then started working with healthcare providers. And then that really intrigued me, and I further got engaged with burnout and compassion fatigue among physicians, and sort of that propelled me into that space. And I just recently, maybe 4 months ago, took this new position working with large clients for LabCorp. So it was certainly an evolution. And when Teresa mentioned who or what was the most influential in your advancement, I would say at every stage of those positions, or in every position, I really made connections with people. And I feel like that has allowed me to advance to where I am today. So I guess my message to you is, don't be afraid of advancing in your career due to fear or lack of knowledge, or just, you're scared of not knowing something. Say yes and have faith in your ability, and it will definitely pay off in the end.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Laura, could we get your perspective on this? Just a little bit about, how you first learned of this, how you got started, what made the most difference for you?
Yeah, so, very similar to Jason, I was in the physical therapy realm, and I was set on becoming a physical therapist and working in healthcare and improving lives, in the physical therapy world. And so I was a rehab tech at a rehab clinic, and I had no idea that they had a wellness committee. This was back at my time at Freighter. And I had no idea there was a wellness committee on staff. And I was talking with another colleague of mine, Mary, who was one of my most influential people, because she taught me to believe in myself. And if it wasn't for her, I never would have made the jump and the opportunity to where I am today. So, listen to those people that kind of give you those little tidbits of like, hey, you are really good at this. You should follow yourself down this path. So I got onto the wellness committee, and that's where I met my manager, Kathy Menard-Rothie, who is one of the best wellness professionals that I had met in this industry. She is just super passionate, and I learned so much from her. And I got to meet Kathy, and one thing led to the next, and there was a health and wellness specialist position that opened up part-time. And, during the time I was personal training at a local fitness center. I had been teaching classes for about 7 years at that point. I knew I loved to take care of people. I knew I loved to educate others and teach them health and wellness and well-being. And when I got this opportunity, and I learned that I could just encompass it all, from the nutrition aspect to the self-care to the stress management to the physical activity side, and I got to see people's lives change, and I made a difference in their lives. It just went from there. And I went and got certified in a bunch of different things. I started doing my research, again, talking to different people, asking about the wellness industry, and just going down that road. And then I met Teresa along the line, and discovered the health and wellness management program. And I was like, this is exactly where I was meant to be and meant to go. So to help people in the different ways.
Super. Thank you very much. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, so I think, I don't know if Teresa, you did this on purpose or if this is just happenstance, but Jason and Laura's story align very well with mine as well. When I started off, I knew I was pursuing secondary or higher education, I should say. I started off knowing that I wanted to help people, and I really enjoyed science. So I started off as actually a pre-physical therapy major, and started taking some coursework there, and was like, as much as I loved science, I was struggling to see how the science was going to help me do these things with helping people. And that then led me to explore other opportunities kind of within that science realm. I enjoy physical activity. I enjoyed exercise and was fascinated by how the body worked and just learning more about that. So then explored a little bit of a athletic training opportunity for a career path, and came to the similar realization that Jason did, that as much as I did enjoy sports, it didn't seem like it was going to be the role for me, right? The long hours, travel, and, you know, at the time when I was in school, they kind of said, yeah, you pretty much, you're in the training room or you're studying. You don't really have much other time to socialize or have a social life or a job. It was kind of the funny story there, right? And, you know, obviously that's not always true. But so anyways, that led me to then explore, well, what are some other sub-emphasis areas within exercise science? And that led me to worksite wellness. And similar to Jason and similar to Laura, I think I started off with thinking I was going to be in a fitness center, and did work for the YMCA for 15 years as a personal trainer and kind of working in the strength floor, etc. But as I went through my worksite wellness coursework and learned a little bit of the health behavior theories, as Jason mentioned, and program planning, and then still having that exercise science kind of core, right, with kinesiology and anatomy and physiology, et cetera, to kind of blend the two together. It really, for me at that point, it kind of aligned. It was like, yes, I get to help people in this role. I get a little bit of the science. I get a little bit of, I'm a strategic kind of thinker, so I like to think big ideas and kind of wonder, like, well, why can't we do it this way? Or could it be this opportunity? How do we make that happen for people? And throughout the coursework, I was becoming more like, okay, if we're going to really impact people and help them be at their best, how do we do that? And I think the worksite is the natural progression for me, at least, that was the place we needed to focus our efforts. Not to say that, you know, physical therapy or fitness centers or those types of roles aren't helping people be at their best, but if we're really going to influence how people thrive, whether that be from a physical perspective or whether that be from other perspectives that I've discovered and or kind of evolved in my career in terms of thinking, the workplace was where I wanted to go. So I was fortunate that, you know, there was this worksite wellness emphasis area, and had wonderful professors there to kind of guide my thinking and keep, again, pressing and kind of pushing me, I should say, to question things and to explore opportunities. So in terms of influential people, I would say it comes down to the professors, and I think you know, UW Health here, Health and Wellness Management, we have excellent professors, we have excellent adjunct faculty, excuse me, that will do that. Secondarily, what I would say is another influential piece, though, is that networking, right? Laura and Jason talked about it. It's getting out there, it's talking to people, it's joining professional organizations. So the Wellness Council of Wisconsin, I started out as an intern there, and the Wellness Council of Wisconsin is a business organization that's sole focus is to help the employers of Wisconsin have their people kind of be at their best and thrive. And the Wellness Council of Wisconsin is a part of a larger organization called the Wellness Councils of America. And just being able to take advantage of the knowledge and the teachings that were there, I think that's the other takeaway that I have from an influential perspective, is just I never stopped learning. And I think the field continues to evolve and grow. And because of that, we're learning so many new things. We're realizing that how we used to do wellness in the past is not how we need to be doing wellness now or ever again, perhaps. You know, well-being is the focus, and it's no longer wellness. It's no longer fix what's wrong with you. It's how do we pour into you to make you better in any dimension or way that you want to become better. So I kind of happened into it a little bit because I was looking for a helping profession and looking for things where it kind of tapped into some of my talents or my areas of curiosity.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate those observations. And, you know, I didn't realize that you had those common threads in your backgrounds, actually. So I'm learning here today, too. And, you know, I'll just add that, like for myself, and I know for many of others who I've talked with, another path into this industry and these roles can be on the business side. So I started out and I came from the insurance and benefits world. And it was the early 90s when I first got involved in working with self-funded clients. And for the most part, they were looking at wellness as a way to better manage the health of their employees. And it all just went from there. So even coming from a business side, we know that many workplace well-being professionals are working in that kind of HR or benefits area too. So yeah, really, really very interesting.
Can I add one more thing, Teresa? Just
Yeah.
thinking about the job market observations, right? And how I chose this as a career. I don't know about Jason, I don't know about Laura's feelings of this, but if I think back to 20 years ago, there were not many job opportunities that were as specific as the role that I'm playing right now, right? So I think that's another, you've touched on this when we kicked off this conversation, is that the job market is expanding for this, right? And businesses and organizations are realizing that this is a necessity to their overall strategy, to their overall business proposition. They need to take care of their people, and they need a role like this that's dedicated to it. So in terms of the job market, when I first started, it was slim pickings. And yes, I would still think hasn't caught wildfire just yet, but I think we're getting closer to that tipping point where we will see an explosion of job opportunities looking for the skills and talents that the program can provide.
And I'll chime in with you, Eric, just after that. I was lucky enough to be at the Wisconsin SHRM State Conference last week, and I was, talking with HR professionals and HR leaders and in the benefit industry, and it was very much, they're looking to improve the life of the population of their employees, and they're asking how and which ways. And wellness professionals are looking for us. They're looking for these people to bring to their employees, the healthy and overall well-being of everybody. So it was a really interesting observation that I noted, that these HR people, they're looking for it, to lower their healthcare costs or improve their costs and all that good stuff.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And that's a great segue into our next question. What I'd like to hear a little bit about is any observations that you could share about the current state of the health and wellness management job market. And in particular, if you have been involved in any interviewing for a position yourself or for hiring someone, any observations that you could draw from that might be helpful for our audience today. Jason, do you want to go next?
Sure. So some observations that I can share about the current state of the health and wellness job market. I would certainly say that COVID has certainly changed this space, and it is redefining not only what wellness means, but the definition of work, and how that translates into your population. So no longer is everybody coming to work and working 9 to 5. We're working with people who haven't been in the job site, or they've been working from home for the past 20 months. So there is an increased anxiety about coming back to work and what that means with physical contact and sort of these group settings, because we have moved to these group spaces, these collaboration type spaces, because we thought it was a great idea so everybody can have a say and everybody can be heard and listened to. But now we are finding that, not so much are people wanting to be close and next to each other. I also feel that there's a huge focus naturally on emotional well-being. So not only are we looking at the physical aspects of health, although important, they have sort of drifted off to the wayside, and there's a hypersensitivity around emotional well-being. And not only, back in the day, I'll say, what we heard traditional work sites is you leave your stuff at home. You don't come into the work site with issues or, being human, really. So that is being encouraged now. More vulnerability coming in as who you are and being accepted in that space. I also feel like there's a better alignment with other specialty areas. So no longer are there sort of these silo approaches and you're the wellness coordinator and you kind of stay over there because your job is to get these people physically active. There's a much more collaborative effort with like total rewards and human capital and engagement in different HR functions. And then secondly, kind of the second topic is, were you involved in a job hunt or interviewing in the last year? And yes, I can definitely say with my new role for the past 6 months or so, I went through a huge interviewing process, and it is very unique now because in the times of COVID, we're used to going in and speaking to a person and connecting in a very physical sense and understanding eye contact and how that all happens. But in this new role, in this new COVID times, be prepared to really sell yourself and shine via video. This is where we make these kinds of connections. So in order to make a good impression, which naturally I would do in person, I had to sort of rethink myself and out of the box about how I can connect with that person I'm interviewing with. I would also say that employers are also requesting some practical applications. So as Teresa mentioned, kind of being in the benefits and insurance world, giving you a scenario about, say, the aggregate results of a health assessment, and looking at that, how would you put in place a program or an experience for a population, and taking that person through a slideshow and some practical application of what that looks like. I would also be prepared to understand how you would sort of pivot programs and experiences that were once held on site and for people to participate in to now a virtual sense, gaming and sort of people tracking different things and different behaviors online virtually. So that is my contribution to that answer.
Great, thank you, Jason. Let's see, Eric, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I personally haven't been involved in the job market in some time. And, in terms of the job market, as I think I mentioned earlier in some of my comments, I think the job market is still relatively thin for these specific types of roles. And I preface that a little bit with where you are, regionally. I think different areas of the country might be more progressive, and businesses and organizations that are in those job markets are thinking more, how do I attract, how do I retain top talent? And they're, doing, as Laura said, which is promising to hear that Wisconsin employers are thinking about this a little bit more, or talking about this a little bit more. How do I make sure that I have a professional, or is this a role that I need within my organization? So I think that there is a job market that will be expanding. I think, as Jason said, COVID has definitely impacted how the role is, right? So in the past, my role would be more on site and working with people face-to-face, or working with groups or teams face-to-face. And now we're in more of a virtual environment where we're on Zoom a lot. So from a job market perspective, to best position yourself, I think you need to be a little bit of, have some situational adaptability. So as Jason mentioned, when you think of opportunities that will present themselves, like how do you go in and how do you show them like they really need this role, they really need you as the wellness professional, versus having them kind of come out and seek you. I think we as job seekers may be better positioned to kind of show them what we can do for them, versus kind of them looking for somebody to kind of do that. The other thing that I would add into just this job market is, I think, again, a lot of what I've seen in previous roles is that wellness had been kind of added on as another job responsibility to someone who is in benefits, to someone who is in HR. And I think I saw a question earlier here from one of you around, if you're going to be making that career change, like how do you break into the industry? And I think that's a wonderful question to ask, and definitely one that, yes, there is a lot of unease, I think, when you are shifting careers and coming to an industry that you have no experience in. So how do you get that experience, right? Because I think that's unfortunately a struggle that employers tend to be looking for people with experience, but new grads don't have any experience outside of just the coursework that they've gone through. So sometimes that befuddles me a little bit, and I can empathize with you a little bit. Like when I was job searching 20 years ago, and in all the jobs that I've had, I think it's been a little bit a mixture of all those things put together, like networking and talking to people, making sure that I made my skills and talents, well known within that network, and then looking at professional organizations that are out there in that space. So we mentioned here WellCOA, we've mentioned Wellness Council of Wisconsin. There's many other professional organizations nationally as well as locally and regionally that I think provide opportunities for job boards and just ways for you to break into the industry if you have no experience or you're not coming from a position of having a job already and you're just kind of shifting to look for a different employer.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Laura, I'd love to hear your perspective, having grown through a few changes recently.
Yeah. So I'll first, be a little transparent. I started I was at my previous role for about 12 years. I graduated from HWM in 2018. And then I had the idea, in my head that I would grow with the company that I was with, and that I would get a promotion, or I would have the opportunity. And then it was I have this degree, I have these skills, this experience. Why don't I take it and go elsewhere and, build the resume, build those skills and start to look. And so, the job move, the first job move I made, I can definitely say the degree gave me a lot of opportunities. It gave me a lot of options. It gave me a lot of avenues and pathways. So the cool thing about HWM, if you're a bachelor's or a master's person right now, you have options, you have opportunities. The professors are great, the classes are great. They really go into day-to-day life of like what you would be doing. It's just, what is it that motivates you? What drives you? What are you looking for at the end of the day? And so, taking the new position, I was a wellness coordinator, and it was a great opportunity. And then, 2020 hit and we were sent home and things were a little different. And so I will definitely say, don't be fearful of learning new opportunities. I had the benefit of learning benefits in human resources. Prior to that role, I was very much personal training, teaching group fitness, health coaching, every which way of helping people. This job made me shift and look at wellness from that different HR benefits perspective. And, I would definitely say, don't be afraid to look into an HR certification, along with health coaching and training or nutrition, because the job market, wellness will be booming. Transparent in 2020, looking for a job opportunity, companies. I think everything shut down. So, but once everything opened up, I saw looking for jobs, it was just twofold. The opportunities were there, and companies were looking for wellness professionals and looking for those skills and looking for a well-rounded individual that had, the benefits, the HR, the training, the coaching, whatever it might be. And so, really, and to speak to Jason and Eric's, like, we're in that virtual space. And so going through the interview process and going through, looking for jobs and what is it that I want, I learned a few couple takeaways and a few couple things that going through it. I've just been in this role now for 3 months, I believe, 3 months this week. So these are the top takeaways. I would say this degree gives you a lot of opportunities and a lot of options, so dig in and look at companies, make connections on LinkedIn, look at the qualifications on a job and what can you provide or what do you need for that job and those skills that you need to develop. And then learn to be assertive and ask questions. You are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. So don't be afraid to ask those tough questions. What is wellness at their company? How much of their company is involved in wellness? What are you looking for? During that interview, like, what do they have that you can provide to them, and ask those really difficult questions, and ask about the wellness program at their company, and ask about their goals and their expectations. What has been successful? What has not been great? What needs to be worked on? Those types of hard questions about the organization. And then really, because you're in this like virtual space, how does the team work together? As a team, is it, good morale, poor morale? As a team, what would you be working on together? What different tasks would you be doing other than just wellness? And so that's one of the things that, going through this myself, I got a lot of opportunities, and I was blessed with, the jobs I did apply for, I was able to interview with, and, I had the decision, to make the choice. And so, really don't be afraid to show off who you are, your strengths. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't hide who you are too. I get uberly passionate and excited when I talk about wellness, and I've learned to just not hide that. And they, on the flip side, companies like to see the real you, especially because now you're in this virtual world.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we have talked a little bit, this topic of increased awareness of mental health and well-being is kind of bubbled up, but I'm wondering if you could talk maybe just a little bit more about how you see this impacting like job opportunities. For example, are employers looking for people who have skills in these areas maybe more than in years past? Or are there job opportunities that's or specifically stem from this area that you've seen? Things in the realm of EAP, for example. And are there, I guess the other question I wanted to include with this is, are there any gaps in the skills or knowledge that you see like growing in importance? So are the things students maybe want to think about in learning more about how to address issues around mental and behavioral health as they prepare to go into the job market? Jason, how about if we go back to you?
Sure. I would say, immediately you had me thinking about sort of the gaps in skills or knowledge that I'm seeing. There is I believe it's called a mental health first aid training that worksites are now offering to kind of recognize some of the patterns of the behavior, so that way you can kind of triage them, not necessarily be their coach or counselor, but kind of triage them to the folks who can assist and can help. But I'll kind of go back to your first question about the shift to leverage or support mental health and well-being. And as I mentioned earlier, certainly work has been defined, and me being in the industry that I was in with healthcare providers and staff, there was certainly a huge need for or to incorporate the dimension of emotional health. We were experiencing burnout and lack of connection. Even if you think about how the healthcare provider had to gown up and put on these PPEs, and that lost the actual physical touch and connection with their patients. So there was a growing problem with isolation and depression. So that sort of transpired amongst COVID as well. So that has led to, and EAPs have been around forever and ever. Employee Assistance Program is what EAP stands for. And they were typically something that was embedded in, like Teresa mentioned, in kind of employee benefits, and something that you paid for, but you never really knew you had it. And, EAPs certainly are essential that alongside of the wellness program. But I feel like employer groups and wellness professionals are realizing that we need to sort of take another look at EAPs and what they stand for. So I feel like in the job market, in the industry, this sort of program has evolved into more of a community or trained guides that are looking at more than just your issues or problems, but more focused on life experiences. Because I mentioned that people are not just coming to the job as workers and producing, they're coming as humans with real life problems and issues that they're encouraged to bring to the work site, because now in this setting, we have platforms and experiences that you can engage in that will help you with these experiences, because this is an evolution, and what you come and show up to work is how you're going to produce. I also feel like work, well, I kind of mentioned this a little bit, but work and family are now merging. So anything that is offered to you in the form of mental health or emotional well-being is now offered to your spouse or partner, and also the rest of your family. So we're seeing that in the worksite as well. And then, overall in general, we're just seeing, as it was mentioned earlier, that this transition from wellness to well-being, and now looking at how we can kind of launch from that traditional approach to a more holistic approach that's sort of rounding out and including emotional well-being.
Great. Okay, thank you, Jason. Laura, any thoughts in this area that you want to add?
Yeah, so it's, Jason brings up the mental health first aid, and that's one of the things I wrote down to, as kind of a growth opportunity, as a student, as a grad, look for those opportunities to be trained in the mental health first aid, look for ways to build your resiliency skills, and to learn about mindfulness and well-being as well. It's, as a wellness practitioner, we're not, obviously we can't, diagnose or, anything like that, but we can recognize those signs and symptoms, so I would say, learn those motivational interviewing skills, learn to recognize the signs and symptoms in people. I think this past year has been isolating. I think people are struggling. I think companies, again, from the SHRM last week when I was there at that conference, companies are looking and reevaluating as to how can we make our employees their best selves, because life and family and everything is merged. We have these hybrid roles. And really reducing the stigma around mental health and like being okay to talk about it. And so, it's looking at those avenues, as a wellness practitioner, how can you support your employees, and what can you do to help them, whether it's just being a sounding board, or I know in my previous opportunity or my previous job, I created teams, like groups on teams. And it gave, because we were virtual and in this virtual space, it gave the ability for people to feel that sense of connection and feel, connected on different topics, pet care or child care, elder care, gardening or cooking. It still gave them that sense of community. And so I think, that focus on mental health is just going to continue to increase. So start to think of ways like outside the box as to how you can provide for, people, not even at work, but even your own families, your own friends, your colleagues, really ask people how they're doing and pay attention and listen to the answer, and really just connect with others on different levels. I think it's that focus is just going to continue to increase and continue to grow, because, the past year really taught us so much, and we can take it and we should run with it, as long as we have the open door to bring awareness to it.
Great, thank you. Eric, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Teresa, and I hear and share some of the viewpoints that Jason and Laura have, but I bring a different perspective perhaps, and I think of the health and wellness management degree, and kind of as a wellness program manager myself, I don't necessarily like the term program because I think it's too much of a check the box, but going back to kind of just thinking about this profession or this career, I envision it as that we need to be a manager. And I think, you know, we can use different analogies for managers, right? Yeah. The quarterback of a football team is really the field manager and making sure that all the things that are out there, all the pieces that are out there can work together and successfully come together to achieve their goal, right? So this focus on mental health is, yes, it's definitely been amplified, but I feel like it's always been a piece of a health and wellness offering or a health and wellness strategy. You hear Jason talk about, and I fully support, you know, how do we create an experience for people in the workplace that allows them to be their authentic self, to allows them to thrive, that kind of looks at what are their skill sets that come in and how do we tap into them so that they feel engaged and they give their all. But then also at the same time, we don't burn them out because we are tapping into those skill sets or we are tapping into that high motivation or passion that they have for whatever it is that they do. So I think as the health and wellness manager, you have to be kind of multifaceted. You need to be able to look at the big picture and understand where are the things that I can have or should have influence on and how do I advocate for those? And if it's mental health, then yes, as the professional, if that's where you want to focus and dive in and be more of a niche, I think there are opportunities for us in the health and wellness profession to do that, right? There are those that are, I think, taking an approach of like, how do I create this comprehensive strategic offering? And then there are those that are like, I want to be the implementer. I want to be the doer that's going to be doing all these things, right? So as Laura mentioned, or Jason mentioned, the mental health first aid screening tool. Like as a health and wellness manager, it's great to understand that that's a tool to employ. Once that tool is employed, how do you take the responses or how do you take the data that you gather as a result of implementing that and then for lack of a better term, pivot and say, okay, we need to be doing this, or we really need to be addressing that, is where I kind of see health and wellness managers, kind of evolving and kind of thinking about skill sets that we need. Not to say that mental health isn't important, but I think mental health is its own profession. And it's, as a health and wellness manager, knowing who to tap into or who to collaborate with for some of these efforts is important. So I think that's another skill that this profession needs to have, is you need to be able to be a team player. You need to, you're going to want to collaborate with others. So like I collaborate here internally at Children's with my organizational development team, because that team is really focused on trying to build that experience and thinking about how it means to be a Children's employee. What is it that the day-to-day operations are, how you're treated, how you feel included, etc. But then also I work with my safety team, because if a person's not in a good mental health space, that's going to affect safety for our patients or safety for themselves. And I think that's the last thing that I would just say is that a health and wellness manager, it's going to depend on the size of the company, right? If you're a smaller company or organization and you're a health and wellness manager, you're going to be able to do and or may need to do more of those hands-on things, versus if you're managing an organization with 50,000 employees, your role might be more, how do we pull in the pieces to provide those services versus you having to provide those services.
Thank you. It's good to hear you talk about how you interact with those other groups within the organization, because, that just further supports some of what Jason had said about we're not being as siloed as we were in the past. I think that's a really important and positive development that's occurring. And I find that very heartening. I'm just looking at our time, and I'm going to just go on at this point, I think, to taking the questions that we have in the chat. There have been a couple, at least, I think, that I've seen posted. And I know we've already kind of mentioned a few tips and some advice for students here as we've gone along. So in the interest of time, I do want to make sure we can address some of the questions that are coming in from our participants today. So transitioning here to that, we have our first question is about changing careers and, being in something that's really kind of completely separate from health and wellness management or well-being. How how do you make that switch? And I love this question because we have so many people, I think, who are thinking about this. How can we do this? My first thought, and then I'll toss this out to our panel, there's so much that in health and wellness management that relates to things like project management and understanding people and how people work, and things that can be important in almost any profession, I think, but are relatable and can transfer well into a health and wellness management kind of a role. So if you can really emphasize those kinds of skills, if you're not, not in this area, but wanting to make that change into it, selling yourself that way is one thought that I would toss out. And then, Eric, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to add another thought there is, if you are in a job currently and you're thinking of switching careers, why not utilize the environment that you're in as a test case? Talk to the leaders at that organization and say, I really think we should be doing this, or I would like to try to address that, and see where their opportunities are or where their openness is to allow you to do that. I think that might be one way to look inside first is you already have a job. How can you maybe create a new role within the organization that you're already at?
Thank you.
And to piggyback, Eric, I have, if there is in your company's, you have a wellness committee or like a wellness champion network, can you get involved in that committee or that network, or can you start it at your organization and talk to people, make those connections, ask those difficult questions about the, if they want a wellness program, and then run with it, see if you can start a blog, or if you can start doing an email list or a network and start there.
Jason, did you want to add?
Yeah, I would also begin to understand what your employer's goals and objectives are, and kind of see how you, as kind of your desired state, how you can align with those goals and objectives as it relates to well-being. I mean, you'd be surprised if you start the conversation and get the conversation going, it might open up different opportunities, and certainly align and connect with people. That is how it's going to happen. That's how it's going to organically evolve into these different spaces that you want to get into.
All right, thank you. There's kind of a related question that came in from an individual who's in a leadership position that's not specifically health and wellness, but they really want to incorporate some of these things in the organization. So first of all, I'm excited to hear of someone in leadership wanting to promote this, because very often it's kind of the other way around, where it's more at the rank and file level trying to work it up to leadership. Because I think in a leadership position, you have an opportunity to kind of set the tone in the organization and kind of get some things started. And while it might be difficult in your own role, if there's someone who you either reports to you or works with you on the team that has some similar interests, then there may be some opportunity to start small and just have some conversations about the work culture and how can we make it more supportive of well-being. Any other thoughts on that from the panel? Okay, I'm going to go on to the next question then. We did have someone ask if a master's degree, if we think that would be required for certain health and wellness positions. I would love to hear from our panel on this one.
I was the only one on the panel who doesn't have a master's. I sure hope not, because then I would need to go back to school. So definitely, will there be roles that require master's level preparedness? Yes. And I think that having it will definitely make you more of an attractive candidate, but I don't foresee it being a requirement. Laura,
did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I I don't foresee it becoming a requirement. I will say from, my past year of interviewing and having the master's in health and wellness management degree, I was able to apply for roles that did require a master's, and it doesn't, because it is such a new and emerging field, it's not listed in those job descriptions yet. It is, still be public health or health promotion, exercise science, those types of jobs that with a master's, you're still qualified to apply for and get the opportunity to be looked at. I don't foresee it as of yet becoming a requirement. So.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, and I agree. I see, since I've been out in the job market and have read and reread many job descriptions, a lot of times it'll say master's preferred, or strongly encouraged. So I would say that, if you do have the opportunity to advance and seek out and get your master's, I think it would be a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're at about 5 minutes to 1. We're kind of, I think, at a point where we might want to start wrapping things up a little bit. I don't see any other questions coming in the chat right now. Just double check. Oh, here's another question. How could someone with a master's in nursing break into this field? Someone who's been a nurse practitioner.
Get your health coaching certification.
Okay.
Find a way, sorry, not to just jump in. Find some, get a certification in health coaching. Look at those extra, certificate in nutrition, something along those lines. I think there's integrative health coaching certifications too that you can search in or get into that field.
Thanks, Laura. Jason, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I worked for many years at a hospital, and a lot of health systems and hospitals have worksite wellness programs, so maybe get involved and volunteer or on the wellness committee. I also feel like there is a huge growing need among healthcare providers and also staff to understand, as it relates to COVID, emotional well-being. They're pretty much physicians and nurses I've worked with for many years are the worst offenders. Knowledge does not equal behavior. That is what I've been taught and have seen over and over again. Just because you are a nurse practitioner or a physician doesn't mean you are healthy or understand overall well-being concepts.
All right, thanks. Eric, you're in a healthcare organization too. Is this something you've encountered?
Yeah, I would echo what Jason said. I think, healthcare professionals tend to be some maybe of the worst offenders when it comes to well-being concepts and behaviors. But I would just echo what he had said and Laura had said. I think it goes to that. I think it was Nicole who had asked that question. Ask yourself, what do you want to where do you have your passion first off? If it's around coaching, if it's around that helping and doing one-on-one type of things, then yes, pursue those certificates. But if it's management, if it's looking at strategic thinking about what are things we need to influence or change, then I would lean on some of the skill sets you probably already have as a nurse practitioner. And based on some of the conversation we had earlier, take a look at your own organization and see where you can provide that insight or that input and show that you have expressed that you have an interest in this. And I think having dual roles of a nurse practitioner and being degree in this health and wellness management will make you a very attractive candidate for future roles in the healthcare space, or even not in the healthcare space, just in the regular business world.
Great, thank you so much. With that, I think we're going to wrap it up for today. I want to just offer our contact information is here on the final slide. If you are interested in more information about the health and wellness management degree programs or our graduate certificate in sustainability and well-being, please feel free to reach out to our recruitment team. Our enrollment advisors are available at the phone number you see there and the email address, learn@uwex.edu. Our website is a wealth of information, and feel free to download a program guide. And I want to thank all of you who signed on to join us today. I know everyone has so many demands on their time, and we couldn't do this without all of you signing up to participate. as well as our panelists who are giving their time and expertise, and also to our marketing staff and IT who helped me with all the planning and support in getting this off the ground. So I want to thank all of you, and if you have other questions or information, please don't hesitate to reach out. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you again. We'll send out the recording here within a couple of days. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Yay.